afternoon, everyone. I think most of our participants has joined. I will just ask in the chat. I am Alana, and I will be your moderator for this session. Um, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker and also our presenters. Moving on with our program, Samantha Belomos-Kaviskic on training effects on the perception of final melodic contours in L2 French questions. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, hello everyone. My name is Samantha Blomos-Kwasik. I am coming from the Structure Formelle du Langage Lab in Paris, associated with the University of Paris 8. And today, alongside with my supervisors, Rebecca Rass from the American University of Paris and Fabian Santiago from Paris 8 as well, we would like to present to you our topic, the training effects of the perception of final melodic contours in L2 French questions. All right, so let's briefly discuss what we generally know about L2 prosody. First, of course, we see persistent difficulty in adults compared to children. However, it is still important that we discuss and study these matters because prosody is essential for intelligibility and comprehension. The prosody consists of many different phenomena such as accentuation, intonation, rhythm, and so on. We actually just talked about this in the previous presentation that we had for the keynote speaker, so it's a great addition to that. It is the mixture of these dynamics where we see the results of that foreign accent, right, and that confidence. While this is completely okay and acceptable in second language learning, especially in adults, we see transfer of first language traits or the misplacing of lexical stress, for example, in English, and it can lead to complications in your exchanges. Finally, specifically the study of prosody in L2 French is still relatively understudied. This can lead us to our research gap and what we are particularly interested in within our study. Still leading into that, we're specifically interested in the American English speakers learning final melodic contours in Parisian French, this variant. We broke this down into two parts, yes, no, or closed questions, and WH or open questions. For yes, no questions, we see that for the English variant, the pitch rise is gradual and often begins earlier in the sentence, while for the French variant, the pitch rise is later and more abrupt. For example, are you coming? And est-ce que tu viens? It's in that last syllable. For the WH questions, we see that for the English variant, the final pitch falls in a similar way to a declarative sentence. For example, what do you want to do today? For the French variant, the final pitch falls as well, but with more variation depending on context and pragmatics. For example, qu'est-ce que tu veux faire aujourd'hui? It's important to note that while the general intonation contours, they may seem similar, right? But their phonetic implementations, they do show variability. Previous research on the instruction of L2 French, while it's beginning to gain some traction for sure, it is still relatively understudied and it shows varying results. This is interesting. We see that implicit approaches, such as the verbal tonal method, it supports oral reading and spontaneous speech fluidity. We also see that explicit approaches improve rhythm and fluency. We can even see meta-analytic findings, which are a small part of a bigger study across many different languages, can help L2 pronunciation. However, not only are these studies not focused on the final melodic contours, which I've told you we are interested in this study, and they're not focused on specific perception tasks. This gives us our interest, of course, but they are also all experimental groups. This brings us to our study, and this brings us to maybe one of the most important things that we have to say about the general of the study. It has to be understood beforehand that the highlight of the study is making L2 prosody accessible and obtainable to everyday teachers and students. We're not focused on creating instructional content and making an experimental group within our lab. But we can implement L2 prosodic teachings in your everyday foreign language classroom. Keeping that in mind, this study addresses two questions. Number one, to what extent are beginner Anglophone learners sensitive to the prosodic cues, distinguishing yes, no, and WH questions in French? How does this sensitivity change with training? Number two, which type of training, form-based or meaning-based, yields greater improvements in the perception of final melodic contours in L2 French questions? All right. So what is that, meaning-based and form-based? So meaning-based is an implicit style of instruction. It is focused on activities and communication, not only from the teacher to the students, but between the interactions of student to student as well. There is absolutely no emphasis on the prosodic phenomena at hand, and students are guided by rephrasing, requests for clarification, elicitation, prompting, and minimal paralinguistic cues. On the other hand, we have form-based. Form-based is an explicit style of instruction, and that is absolutely emphasizing the content and the prosodic phenomena and parameters. Not only was there communication, like the meaning-based, but the additional input enhancements. This could be such as arrows, highlighting, underlining certain aspects on the board or on PowerPoints. The students were guided by explicit and metalinguistic feedback, as well as exaggerated paralinguistic cues. So for the methodology, we collaborated with a native French as a foreign language professor at a university in Georgia within the US. We were able to implement meaning-based and form-based instructional input and feedbacks over the course of 2 weeks, which added to around 7.5 hours of total instruction time. So with pretest and post-test design, we were able to send over the pretest about a week before the experiments started, and the students had around a week after the end of the experiments to finish the post-test. The class we collaborated with, there were two classes of second semester French students within this university. One of them followed the meaning-based route, while the other followed the form-based route. And while inherently, of course, there were plenty of participants enrolled in this university class, only 13 of them were present every single day and as well accurately completed the perception pre-test and post-test. So within that test, what was included? They included all of the 20 questions, yes being 10 of them being yes, no questions, 10 of them being WH question, of course, additional filler stimuli as well. The students were able to visualize the question in front of them on the screen at home. Also, they were able to listen to this question 3 times within 3 different utterances, of course, all in a randomized order between participants and stimuli. The first being a native canonical version, and the other two being non-native canonical versions. I wanted to be able to visualize this for you. So on the screen, I've drawn a pitch contour of a yes or no question, just for example. You can see that the middle line on the last syllable right there, we have the canonical native form, which contains that late rise that we discussed earlier. Above that, you can see our first non-canonical form. This represents an over-amplified high rise. And for our phoneticians, just for you know, we adjusted that last syllable around 2 to 4 semitones on prod. And on the bottom, we can see another non-canonical form that represented an inverted manipulation. And with that final syllable, that was set to around a similar minimum pitch value earlier in the sentence, and around the same manipulations were given to WH questions. Everything was stylized, of course, to not give a bias. And before we move on to the results, it is important to note that while this specific study and presentation, this focuses on the perception of final melodic contours, it is a part of a greater thesis, my doctoral thesis, which also contains other prosodic phenomena as well as various production tasks. So this is just a small part of a bigger study. So results. Our results show that overall, for this specific study, there were no significant main effects between input training type and the levels of test. However, we can see that the training type significantly affected performance within both groups, as WH questions were harder than yes-no questions. We can also see a significant interaction between both levels of test and question type. For yes/no question, the overall average has decreased. We see this. However, the performance of WH questions have improved for both training inputs. Specifically, it is interesting to see that meaning-based condition improved an overall 14.2% and even remained quite stable for the yes/no questions. So of course, the big question is, when our participants were incorrect, why is that, and what were their preferences? Well, similar to previous research findings, our participants' preferences were the over-amplified high rises. We found a correlation to that. Where there was more difficulty, there was an increase of high rise error pattern. So to summarize everything, overall, there were no significant effects of training input. However, we can say that the meaning-based training showed slightly stronger gains. We can't ignore the fact that depending on question type and test, some accuracy scores have decreased. Why is that? Due to our findings of the extra high-rise error pattern, we can estimate that for some participants, there was an L1 transfer. For some, it could be overgeneralization, especially with that form-based group. Maybe for some, there were forms of anxiety present. Previous studies have shown that second language learners can respond to extra high rises when an uncertainty is present. There were also some limitations in the study. Of course, we can discuss that, such as a small participant pool. Perhaps the training period was too short. We can also assume maybe, since these were beginner learners, maybe the tasks presented were slightly too difficult. It would be interesting to expand that to different levels of participants. And we must also realize that our study included various production tasks, so perhaps our findings will correlate to those activities. Regardless, however, we can say in hindsight, early prosody training can be feasible and beneficial, with meaning-based instruction offering modest advantages for contour recognition. Thank you guys so much, and I'm completely open to anyone have any questions, comments, or any instructional feedback. I would love to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for that. I'm just going to ask one more time. Is there any questions for Samantha? Okay. Seems like there isn't any questions for you. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very detailed and interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
It was very
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to move on to online presentation number 6. Elena Stepanen will be presenting AI mediated communication and language development, socio-linguistic, pragmatic, and pedagogical risks and implementations for EMI and ESL education. Thank you.
That would be me. So hello again, everyone. It's very nice to be here, and I hope everyone can hear and see me well. As Milana, what a beautiful name. Samantha was the girl who presented before. So as Milana has already mentioned, I'm going to talk about the implications, the sociolinguistic, pragmatic, and pedagogical risks of AI. So the artificial intelligence, as we know, is very present in our days. And I have been teaching writing and speaking skills, different styles of communication and writing skills to master students for the last 5 years. So I'm going to talk about the AI implications in educational settings, mainly among the EMI and ESL students. So English as a medium of instruction and English as a second language students and educational settings. So as we know, AI is very contradictory. It has various sides in different spheres and various variables and elements. So I'm mainly going to talk about the cognitive, as I said, pragmatic implications, and as being still very new, very novel and contradictive phenomenon in our life, it has dual sides in this setting as well. So the article we talk about how learners interpret and bring out the meaning and develop critical thinking and enhance speaking, in terms of AI, in terms of using AI in everyday life. And we know that there are new regulations, fortunately, and new terms, and probably there will be more fundamental regulations coming into the sphere of education, also into the institutions, as to how and to how much, to what extent students can use AI. But for the moment, as a person who, is still new in the, let's say, I haven't been teaching for 30 years or 40 as to so many exemplary professors, but who has been already in the field for 5 years, witnessing the students shift from how they had, let's say, no assistance, and how they come to the class with, texts that are not written by them, and how we have to try to facilitate it, try to, not be too strict, but not be also, liking disciplinary education in terms of cognitive teaching, and how to also teach them to use AI as a facilitative instrument, as an assistive instrument, rather than as, replacive for them to, mostly, of course, speaking in terms of speaking text and generative text, rather than, of course, writing rather than speaking, because we know the difference. So it has been very interesting for me to observe this, dynamics. And I'm going to talk mainly about the metapragmatic importance of AI and the inference, and how it can change, So it has a very supportive role, but it has also a very diminishing role in these two cases. So there is a foundation saying that, theoretical foundation arguing of the relevance theory, arguing that communication relies, on the balance between cognitive effort and contextual effort. And as George Lakoff said, we know that communication, is a cognitive process, and I highly support it. So AI lies in between these two different, and there are so many theories which we don't have the time to discuss now, lies in between these two and so many different theories, stating that in terms of assisting generative ideas and cognitive ideas also, as to providing more information, providing also the positive surplus of analytical background information for students, it can help the cognitive processes, also the metapragmatic, but on the other side, it's very automated. So it's providing us with already created, suggested outputs, very automated outputs, which are very repetitive, and they diminish the creative, the cognitive thinking of students. So the metapragmatic awareness and the feedback, the AI systems provide very immediate, as I already said, and very automated corrective feedback and responses and outputs, which of course can enhance learners' awareness of grammar, vocabulary, and pragmatic appropriateness. But AI-generated explanations are very, very simplified, and it can potentially limit the ability of students as to engage in deeper reflection. And we know that thoughts are processed based on the previous thoughts. And when we are already given the responses to a certain question, and we don't literally generate, more thoughts. And we know how, as human beings, we come from one idea, which leads to, so it's very derivative, okay? In this case, we're kind of losing that flow of having layers of ideas and then having maybe a final great idea. So in that term, it's very diminishing. And it doesn't apply to specific contexts. So as to critical thinking and language use, AI can be a tool for developing critical thinking, yes. according to many researchers, and all of this is not my opinion, so it's based on researches. You can see later in the slides if you want. Maybe Melanie can also later share with you the slides, or you can ask me questions. So AI tools can support critical thinking by, as I already said, generating alternative perspectives, more information, valid, of course, valid, solid information, assisting in argument development, and providing models of written discourse. And some empirical research does suggest that AI can support environments that improve students' ability to structure arguments and to organize ideas effectively, especially writing tasks. Learners can analyze what AI suggests and teaches them, and they can learn from it a lot. But as we have already mentioned, and I think many of us, as people who belong to the field, have observed, it should be a facilitative element. It shouldn't replace our critical evaluation of our own thoughts, of our own ideas. So we should necessarily evaluate the quality of what AI suggests, of all the texts, of all the information that it gives. So evaluation, revising, and critical thinking and critical evaluation, most importantly, is very, very significant in this case of using AI for written text. So in terms of how it can be helpful to writing skills. There is also a study saying, not one, some studies saying that AI can support higher order cognitive processes, such as analysis, as evaluation, based on all the facts that I've already mentioned before. So, it can help us provide better practices in order to help students improve their higher order cognitive processes. However, again, we have to know how to do it. Anyone who is teaching any age, because today's AI is used already by kids in some countries. Of course, not everywhere, fortunately, but already in some countries. So we have to know how to regulate that, and if regulated, and if I don't want to use the word control, but in this case, controlled by teachers correctively, it can really be very helpful. And still, even if it can sometimes help and support, can we go to the, sorry, which slide are we following here? No, I think we have to go back to the slides where there are arrows. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. You go down. So you go down or down. Yes, here. But why is it not showing the arrows? So it should be like orange, violet. Just the one before. Just the one before. Yeah, but empty. It's not showing the arrows. No, there is a big text here. I don't know why it's not opening it. You can see the arrows here.
Let me try to open it up in Google
Thank you, Melanie.
Docs, just to see. Perfect.
Is the 6th slide. Yes, thank you so much. So, as we said, even if it can support the higher cognitive thinking, it is still diminishing in some terms. So what comes as a risk is the offloading and the reduced engagement in case of excessive AI use. So nevertheless, the artificial intelligence can hinder, critical thinking by encouraging cognitive offloading, where learners rely on automated systems rather than engaging in active reasoning. So in simpler terms, we have to be very, very careful of not letting students completely let themselves down into the pool of getting so used to using AI that they stop generating ideas themselves. So this offloading term is very, very important in this case, to scale it, to balance it well. And as Richard Gardwin-Jones states, generative AI tools may reduce opportunities for learners to analyze, evaluate, produce original ideas, genuine ideas, And as Professor Neil Shellman argues, excessive dependence on educational technologies does limit sometimes deeper cognitive engagement. And it does promote passive learning behaviors. And we all know probably what it means in our classrooms. So when AI provides ready-made answers, learners may bypass this inferential reasoning and reflection. And this is very important. It's essential for the development of critical thinking, speaking skills, particularly in academic writing and problem solving and speaking and so on. So from the cognitive point of view, from its standpoint, AI does reduce the inferential effort, which is very, very important. It's significant for pragmatics, for sociolinguistics, for critical thinking skills, and so on. However, going to the speaking skills, the fluency and interaction, AI does show some improvements, as also some of the colleagues said before. No, it wasn't about AI, but it's the same idea of students being, less stressed, so they have lower anxiety while training their language skills, their speaking and writing skills with, let's say, a robot, with a machine, rather than by a human being, which having maybe a superior, profile of language knowledge or whatever, can judge them and criticize them. So it's a psychological thing. They prefer to train, with the machine rather than with a teacher who can constantly correct them. It's the human factor, So it does provide them with a better environment, with a better psychological setting to learn, which is a great thing, because later they show a better proficiency. However, again, it should be moderated, but this is one of the positive, elements of AI. So lower anxiety setting. And there are limitations in pragmatic authenticity, of course, while using AI, especially, in terms of cognitive pragmatics, instead of speaking skills, instead of thought generation, idea generation. So as something that lacks genuine communicative intent, as what we can understand, not being a human being, it doesn't have the intent. The result is that students and learners don't fully develop the ability to interpret implicit meanings. So they are not able to very well understand the dynamics of a discourse. Yes, this one. No, the one before with the hands. After, yes, this one. Thank you. So they are not able to dwell in the dynamics of discourse complexity or navigate the very unpredictable conversational dynamics. And the fear is that they will lose the flexibility of understanding and reacting well in conversation, rather than just doing something automatic, which is what they learn with AI, which they're something that they are used to already. And this limitation is very important. It's particularly significant in EMI students, as we know, where academic speaking requires very delicate argumentation and interaction, a deeper argumentation and interaction, rather than with native speakers. So for English as means of instruction as a second language, especially for who it is a means of instruction, this limitation is very, very, is a big deal. It's very, let's say, off-costing, and it's something that can create bigger problems and issues later on. We can have the next slide. Thank you. So in writing skills, it can serve as a scaffold, so as an assistant, as it very well provides an explanation of grammatical mistakes, it corrects them, it provides a better vocabulary. And as I already said, also it has this lower anxiety factor. So there is some review, very important, solid review, saying that AI-assisted feedback does improve coherence and linguistic accuracy in learners' writing. So from a pedagogical perspective, AI functions as a scaffold that enables learners to produce more advanced text than they could by themselves. important thing is to continue to learn from it rather than just doing it automatically and never having, anything in their hands as a learning outcome. So what about the voice of a student and the critical writing rather than just academic writing? So the over-reliance on AI may again undermine the development of genuine, authentic voice and the critical writing skills. We can have, I think, the next slide. Yeah, thank you. And as Highland says, he emphasizes that academic writing is a socially situated practice, which requires the presence, the stance-taking, audience awareness, and argumentation. So it often requires live practice rather than just automated, robotic communication for the student. So it can undermine some factors of critical writing, of course. And AI-generated writing may lack the rhetorical dimension as well, which is very limiting for learners' ability to develop independent academic voice. And the next one, thank you, Melanie. So the pedagogical implications are the followings. And we're on the way to that. We know this is very critical time for, very revolutionizing time, let's say, for teaching, for education. We'll come to that, but we should be able to design tasks that require learners to evaluate, criticize, and also reflect on AI-generated outputs. So students should not take it automatically. They should not accept it automatically. They should be able to re-evaluate. Even if AI gives them valid information based on valid sources, it shouldn't be accepted as something for granted, They should be able and should be also a little bit encouraged to reevaluate, revise, analyze what AI gives them as a result. And we should integrate human and AI interaction, meaning that AI should be used as a complementary tool, as just a facilitating element, alongside peer interaction and teacher feedback, which is very important. Teachers should still remain the central, leader, or let's say the motivator for a student rather than someone who is losing the role. And the teacher should ensure authentic communicative practices for students. Also developing critical AI literacy. So learners should be trained to critically evaluate AI outputs, including awareness of bias, limitations, and reliability. So this is not about opinion, what I mentioned before, that the students should be able to evaluate and revise them critically. It's about reliability and limitations, which is something that the students saw. It's ethics in how to use AI. And we have to have regulations. We have to be able to teach our students how to check, how to double check, how to trust AI or not trust, how to be aware of what they are given, what information that they are given, how to check the reliability of AI, and so on and so on. Also the bias, because we know that AI has biases as well. So they should be able to literally reevaluate the behavior of AI in itself, not only its one skill. And supporting productive skills development. So in writing and speaking tasks, AI should be used for drafting and sometimes also practice, while final production should be left to the, to the teacher, to the independent student, to whoever the human being that is carrying it out. So as a conclusion, thank you. The AI-mediated communication has significant potential to enhance language learning, also to help enhance language learning in EMA and ESL contexts, particularly in speaking and writing development. However, from a cognitive pragmatic perspective, its impact is very dual. It's very contradictory. And it supports fluency, and it can be scaffolding, but it may highly reduce the inferential effort and critical engagement, which are the pillars of communication and language thinking. And a balanced pedagogical approach is required, something that integrates AI as a supportive tool and maintains emphasis on cognitive task, critical thinking, authentic communicative competence, and something that brings ethical usage of AI and important reliability manners rather than just trusting it fully. Thank you, and there are the references at the end. If there are any questions, I'm here. Thank you. I don't know about the timing. I didn't check what time it was, but I don't know if I have time. I exceeded the time.
Yes, no, it's not a problem. Thank you so much, Elena, for your presentation. I would like to ask, is there any questions?
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Okay, it seems like we don't have any questions, but we do have some thoughtful remarks there, saying it was very interesting. Yes, and also thank you for thanking you for the presentation. Yes, I think
the opportunity for the participation and for the time and consideration, and it's my pleasure. See you today and tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
All right. I just would like to thank you, Elena, for that. I would like to thank everyone for their presence and contribution to the conference. It is really appreciated. Just remember that we also have a session scheduled for tomorrow. Please have a look at it, and you are more than welcome to join. Thank you.
May I say something?
Yes.
Oh, hi, I'm Diane. Hi, Lina. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Hi, Diane.
Your work is very interesting. In fact, I study cognition in reading. And nowadays I'm a postdoc at Universitat Zuccoll, and my advisor is Benjamin Roth. And he studies like critical thinking in mathematics. So maybe we can like talk after this conference in order to do some collaborative work, because it's very interesting to have this approach on IA. So yeah, it would be awesome.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Where can I find you? Sorry, is there in the program? Are there your maybe name?
I presented my poster on the first day, and tomorrow I'm gonna be I'll be presenting as well in the last presentation.
Okay, if you just send me your mail, or I can just find your mail and I'll just
for sure.
the message. That would be very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for the question, Diane. Okay. It is online presentation number 4, Jing Lin, Innovative Interventions for Young Children's Phonological Working Memory, the case study of Dutch. You may present.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Oops, sorry, switching back to the other. Okay, so this is a joint work by myself and my colleague Luis and also Amaris. So who are not presenting here, I'm going to present for the 3 of us. We are from the Netherlands, from VU Amsterdam. So a very brief summary of today's work. We gonna present how we developed innovative methods to train young children's phonological working memory. Our departing point is from mainly the empirical findings on the positive role of phonological working memory in language learning processes. And our theoretical model is, of course, the phonological loop, dailies. Yes, so some background phonological working memory. It refers to the ability to temporarily store and manipulate auditory and verbal information for various purposes. For example, for forming word representations and also sentence comprehensions. And according to the theoretical model of Whately, phonological loop is a part in which phonological working memory is quite important. It's altogether, the diagram shows the relation of phonological loop to the whole memory system. And if you look within the phonological loop, there seem to be 2 components. One they call it inner ear, and the other is the inner voice. The inner ear, inner voice are not two separate components. There's continuously interaction between these two components. We use the inner ear to store phonological information. It's quite passive, just a storage space. We use phonological store to hold verbal or maybe language information, auditory information language-wise for a couple of seconds. And we use the inner voice to do the mental rehearsal. So inner voice is also the articulatory control process. It's an active component. So this is the phonological loop. And then phonological working memory is the inner ear and the inner voice together. So we use this part to process and to manipulate verbal information of a spoken language. Some background on the role of phonological working memory and language acquisition. Research so far has reported consistently positive role of phonological working memory in both L1 and L2 contexts, so for native language acquisition, also for the second language acquisition. In different language domains, there's some kind of a positive correlation with a stronger phonological working memory capacity on the one hand, on the other, language skills and competence. And if you look at different pathological populations, like children with developmental language disorder or children with reading difficulties or dyslexia, you will see that these children are often reported to have limited phonological working memory. So there's again evidence showing that phonological working memory is quite crucial for develop language skills in different domains, and it gives you better language competence. So our hypothesis was quite naive. If we could find a positive and effective way to train phonological working memory, then we would expect a quicker language acquisition process, or maybe a better language competence. So that's the idea. And if we looked into the literature, we found that previous training methods were quite limited. So some studies report non-word repetition task, and some studies use the backward word span task and dual load condition task. And memory-based gamified tasks were presented as well, but were not really tested so far yet. And also other studies try to relate phonological awareness with phonological working memory. And by creating phonological awareness, we hope to increase the phonological working memory capacity in children as well. So for the current research, we would like to combine the nice ideas from the literature, and that is the use of noun-words and also a memory-based games. So these two very important part from the previous trainings. So the objective of the current research is we would like to present two interactive memory-based games in the form of web applications, because the type of the game, we think the age range of the children would be 4 to 8 years old, so pretty young. And because for this young group, the games would be, cognitively speaking, quite challenging and not too boring. And so that's what we thought. And at this moment, we only consider Dutch as the target language, and also being the initial step in a bigger project or big idea, we at this moment only include monosyllabic Dutch noun-words. We move on to the method. So we would like to engage both the inner ear and the inner voice of the phonological loop, because we wanted to strengthen the phonological loop as a whole and to strengthen phonological working memory to the maximum. And in a sense, we try to come up with two. I see people asking questions. Oh, sorry, shall I look at that, or it's not my questions? Wait, this is something else. Sorry, you see the screen as well, I guess.
Yes, it's something else.
Yes. All right. So as for the game types, we consider a memory game and also a match game. And in both games, we would like to involve audio recordings of Dutch noun-words. So that was the basic idea. So for the first memory game, this is pretty much the design. So we would have, just like a classical memory game, we have a board with different cards, but in this case, these cards are digital cards. On the digital cards, one side, you see the colorful picture. These are the icons of a speaker, so to say. And the audio files containing noun words are linked to each individual card. So if you click on the card, there will be audio file played containing a Dutch noun word. We have two difficulties here, degrees. One difficulty degree contains 6 pairs of noun words, and the other degree contains 9 pairs of noun words. And then another game, we call it the match game, and it seems to be a multiple choice question-ish design. So here you have a digital cards as well. Audio files are linked to each individual card, and you have one target on the top, that is the target noun word. So you first click on that, you will hear the target sound, and then you see on the bottom row either 6 or 8 options of different sounds. So if you consider one of these options would be the matching sound, you just drag that matching sound to the box next to the target. These are quite naive design. And then we selected the materials. So we consider syllabic structures and the vowels, consonants used in the onset and the coda. So these are like based on frequency selected on the corpus of spoken Dutch. And we also consider the fact that Dutch is a language which allows onset consonant cluster and also consonant cluster in the coda position. So we included all possible onset and coda clusters in the appendix. If you would like to see it, I'm going to show you in a while. These are the raw materials, and then we start with generating the Dutch noun words. So we just use automatic process to randomize random correct noun words in Dutch. So given them the laws that you use one vowel for each syllable, and then their consonant or consonant clusters had to stay in the beginning of a syllable and the end of the syllable. And then in the end, we have like a lot of words generated using these kind of basic rules, the vowel, the onset, and the coda. And then we had a process to automatically check the existence of these words against the Dutch dictionaries. So there are a couple of digital dictionaries that we can use. And after this step, we used the technology. We turned the text to speech. We used the young female voice because this kind of voice would be like child friendly. And then the last step to making the noun words is to have the recordings manually or maybe like auditory checked by a native Dutch speaker checked for the existence of those kind of words, whether they exist or not, and also for the recording quality. And in the end, we have 1,883 Dutch monosyllabic noun words included in the final pool. And then we developed the game. So we used Python and then Flex, so hosted on the university server. We have the difficulties. So for each game, we have 2 difficulties. We just 50% randomize the difficulties. And for the game type, 80% would be the match game, so the drag to the sound, like the multiple choice one, and the 20% would be the memory game, because the memory game, just like a larger game, takes longer for the child to play to finish. And the selection of the noun words is like a randomized on each play, just on each play. But we try to keep the diversity because these words have to represent the Dutch daily Dutch word use. So we controlled for the vowel types. Each of them has to appear once in one play, and also the syllabic structures. Also, we have speaker visuals randomized. So we use different colors and different shapes to reduce boredom with the young children playing this game. And we also manipulate the coding so that we can track the child's progression, the in-game progression. So we calculate it, we record the completion time and time spent altogether, whether or not they complete the game. That's the idea. So I don't know whether I have time to show some the initial results of the game. So I will try to show that. Yes, this is still the Zoom. I hope that you can hear that as well. So this would be the match game. Can you hear the voice, the recording? Or not?
No, I can't hear the recording, and I also don't know what you are meaning to share. Is it the slide or
No,
something else?
it's something else. Okay, then I cannot share it at the moment, but then it's
Oh.
okay. I will just continue with my presentation if you believe me. Yes. All right, but the platform is not yet open to public, so it's just like some demo. But we have no. I will continue to my presentation, and you will know the ongoing research. Sorry. So in conclusion, I think I just very briefly presented how the idea came from, where the idea came from, and how we developed the materials. So the materials we consider as being very innovative and interactive. It's also quite blended to train the phonological working memory in young children. And so the whole design is actually departing from theoretical model on phonological loop. And also we considered empirical findings on the positive role of phonological working memory in language acquisition and competence. So these are the two game types. And at that, currently, we only consider Dutch very specific as a target language and only using monosyllabic words. So some discussion points, and also for the future, we have an ongoing research. So we have 45 children participated already in the intervention study. These are young children who are learning Dutch as their second language. The whole intervention period is 10 weeks. So we have 3 measure moments during these 10 weeks. And the next step for the research is to extend from monosyllabic nounwords only to bi- and trisyllabic nounwords in Dutch. But then there comes a difficulty extra, and that is to manipulate the stress pattern within the word. And also we consider to extend from Dutch nounwords to universal nounwords, or maybe to nounwords treating other language as the target language. And we also would like to consider some clinical relevance in the future because children with developmental language disorder and children with dyslexia seem to have limited phonological working memory capacity. So we hope that we can find some partner who would like to test or maybe try out this intervention materials as a part of their therapy or treatment to help these children grow in phonological working memory and so that they can become stronger in language competence. So that's the idea. Some references, yes, and then acknowledgement. So this is part of a small research grant, just to mention this. Yes. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Jinglin. We appreciate it. And sorry that I almost left you out because I saw that you were going in and out of the Zoom meeting. So I thought that maybe you had a connection error or something. And yeah, and I almost did the closing and we almost left the meeting. But thank you so much. We appreciate it. It was very thoughtful and engaging and just a good presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I think I can now do the official closing for us. Let me just ask one more question before I do that. Is there any questions for Jinglin?
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, yes, there's a question. Let me read it out for you. Thank you for the interesting presentation. A naive question. If we are speaking about the narrowing attention span of kids, would tasks like you suggest contribute to the tendency cards?
I do not really understand the tendency cards.
Yes.
If
I may, I was just wondering, so now we are talking about this narrowing of attention span. The card games that you offered and that you were discussing, also from the cognitive point of view, seems to be, like, from pedagogical point of view, of course, very motivating and very interesting. And therefore, I could see the engagement on part of the young children. However, since it also includes this flipping, opening, etc., just a question. I understand that most probably you didn't do the research, but maybe you have observed some tendencies. Would a task like this contribute to this tendency of narrowing attention span that is happening among younger children, like Gen Alpha?
I have no idea, to be honest. We have the intervention study running at this moment. The feedback I got from parents, like a couple of parents that I speak, and also from the schools, is the kids really like this kind of games. But we also instruct the parents because we don't want the children to just play 1 or 2 days and then to leave it out for like a couple of weeks and then again. So we said to make sure that they can be daily engaged with this kind of activities, but 2 to 3 minutes at one time the most, because the games are actually designed for tablet use, and it's quite you need there's no instruction needed for the kids. They seem to be able to start playing right away. So if they see the screen, they seem to know how to do it. So it's only 2 to 3 minutes.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thanks
per
for your
day.
answer.
Yeah.
All right,
Sorry.
thank you so much. Any more questions? All right, I assume that we don't have any more questions available. Yes, I think I am going to officially close the conference for this afternoon. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for their presence and their contribution to this conference. It was really meaningful and impactful. And don't forget that we also have we have another session scheduled for tomorrow. Please feel free to join, and thank you so much for everyone.